Hey, what's going on, guys? I wanted to make a video for people that are new to Linux and new to the command line to maybe help you out a little bit and show you how to navigate the terminal and do some very basic tasks. So a lot of people ask me why I work on Windows in most of my videos. And let me just clarify by saying that I'm in no way, shape, or form a Windows fanboy. I actually like working on Linux better for web development and programming. There is a few reasons why I have Windows installed on my main machine. One is for the recording software. I use Camtasia, which works flawlessly for what I need it to do. And I haven't found a Linux-based solution that works how I need it to and processes the videos as fast as I need them to. I also use Adobe Photoshop and then a lot of other Windows-based tools. I also have 6 monitors, and it's a pain in the ass to try and get them working with Ubuntu and working with the drivers. I know I could do it if I really tried, but it's just something that hinders me. Another reason is gaming. I have a pretty beefy system with SLI graphics cards, and obviously if you play games you want to run Windows. Now that's not a huge deal because I very rarely play games anymore because I'm so busy, but that is one of the issues. And then the main reason I use Windows in a lot of my videos is because I'm trying to reach everybody of all skill sets. And chances are a person that is just learning HTML and front-end development is running Windows, and they may get lost if I'm using Linux or a Mac. Now I know many of you do use Linux or a Mac, but I think that there's more of a chance of a Linux or Mac user knowing and understanding what I'm doing in Windows than the other way around. So that's probably the biggest reason. For my own personal development, I do work on Linux in a virtual machine, and I'm going to start using Linux more in my videos. So anyway, let's jump in and learn some basic commands. Now, if you're a Windows user, I would suggest getting something like VMware or VirtualBox and installing a Linux distribution. You may not want to go as far as to install it on your main machine for your everyday use, but you should get into it and start to experiment with it. As far as distros, I prefer Ubuntu or Debian, and there's a lot to choose from. Okay, for beginners, I would recommend Debian, Ubuntu, or even Linux Mint, OpenSUSE or OpenSUSE, however you say it, is a little more complicated, but I do like that as well. Let's get into it. Currently, Ubuntu is using the Unity desktop interface, but you can use a different environment if you want. And we're going to go and open the terminal. Now, I use a program called Terminator, so that's what I'm going to be using. If you install Ubuntu fresh, you're going to just have the regular terminal, which is this right here, but it doesn't really matter. You use the same commands. Alright, so let's go ahead and just make that a little bigger. Now, when you first open your terminal, you're going to be in your home directory. Okay, every user on a Linux system has a home directory, much like on Windows. If you go to users, you have your usernames for each account. So Linux does the same thing. In fact, if we look at the file manager, and you can see that actually opens in the home directory as well. If we go to the actual root directory, it's going to be in home. And you'll see I have a folder called Brad. Okay, I only have one user on this system. So over here, you can actually check what path you're in with the command pwd. Okay, you can see I'm in home Brad. So that's the first command. Now, if you want to show the listings like you do in File Manager in your command line, you can use the ls, okay, the listing command. And you can see that these are the same folders that we're seeing here. All right, now, with commands, you also have options. Okay, most commands have some options you can use. Now with ls, we have an option of -a, and what that does is it'll show everything, even the hidden files, the system files that begin with the dot. It'll show those as well. By default, those are hidden. Okay, much like hidden files in Windows. Now we can also use the -l. So if we say ls-l, and that just shows us some extra information. The time it was created, the date, the size. Now this here at the beginning, this looks kind of weird. What this is the permissions of the folder or file. Basically, it's broken up into 3 parts. The first is for the owner, the permissions of the owner of the folder or file. and then the permissions for the group, okay, because you can also have user groups, and then the permission for everyone else, for the rest of the world, or the public. Now these basically stand for delete, the D is delete, read, write, and execute. Okay, so basically the owner of the folder or file has all these permissions. They can do whatever they want. The group can only execute and read, and then the rest of the world can only execute. Okay, so they can't change anything at all. That's what that is. And then here you'll see Brad. The reason it says it twice is because one is the user and then one is the group. Okay, so there's actually a group called Brad. And you can change these with certain commands, but I'm not really going to get into that today. I just want to keep things very basic. So that's the ls command. Now the next command I want to look at is mkdir, okay, and that is make directory, and that does just that. It will create a directory. So let's create a folder or a directory inside of our home, and let's call this, we'll call it dir1. Alright, and over here you can see that now we have dir1. If we do ls, you see dir1. Alright, let's create another one called dir2. Okay, so now we have these two directories. And the next command we're going to look at is cd, and that's change directory. So if we want to go into dir1, we can say cd dir1, and you'll see that the prompt here is now changed. It shows us where we are. If we do pwd, it'll show us we're in directory 1. Okay. Now if we want to go back one level, back into the home, we can do cd space ... and so you can see now we're back in the home. Okay, if you want to navigate to the absolute root of your system, you could do cd and then slash, and now if we do ls, you'll see we're in the actual root of the entire system. Alright, if you want to go back home, you could just do cd, and that'll bring you back home. You can also do cd and then this tilde, which is the key that's to the left of the number 1 key, and that basically represents home. So we can do that. If we want to go into dir2, let's say in the home, we could do from anywhere, we could do the tilde slash dir2. Okay, and if we want to go back out, we go cd ... and then let's go back into dir1. Okay, another helpful command is clear. If we do clear, it'll just do just that. It'll clear out the terminal. Alright, so you know how to find your path, you know how to create directories, how to list the contents, how to change directories. That's very basic. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to create a file. So let's say we want to create a text file. We could use the touch command. So we say touch, we'll say file1.text, and now if we do an ls, you can see we have that file1. Now if we want to edit that file, of course you could do that from within your file manager. So you could just go to file1.text, and I think, yeah, it'll open with gedit if you open it here. But you can also use command line based text editors. So the one that I would recommend for beginners is Nano. Okay, it's very easy to use. Now if we say nano file1.text, it's going to bring us into a screen like this. So this is the Nano editor, and like I said, it's pretty easy to use. Basically we could just let's just say hello world. Okay, now if we want to exit out, we want to do a Control X, and then it's going to ask if we want to save or not. Okay, so we're going to say Y for yes, and then enter, and then that will edit the file and save it. Okay, so Control X to escape, yes or no to save. Okay, and you won't get prompted if you don't edit it at all. You won't get prompted to save or not. Now you can also use the cat command to see what's in a file. So we'll say cat file1.txt, and it'll show us what's in it. It basically takes the input and puts it to standard output, which is what's shown here. Now if this is a really long file and you have to page down, you can use less instead of cat, so file1.text, and you'd be able to page down, okay, and see the whole file. And then to get out of it, you just want to hit Q, and that'll quit. Okay, so that's cat and less. Now let's say we want to rename this file. Okay, so there's a command to move files and rename, and that's mv. So if we say mv file1.txt and space file2.txt, okay, and then we do an ls, you can see that file1 has now been renamed to file2. And if we say cat file2.txt, you can see it's the hello world. Now we can also copy files. So let's say we want to take file2 and create file1 but also keep file2, then we could do cp, okay, that's the copy command, file2.txt, and we want to copy it to file1.txt. And now if we look at the contents, we have both files. And if we say cat file1 hello world. Okay, so let's clear this out. Now we can move and copy to other locations as well. So if we want to, let's say, copy file1.txt, we want to copy it to, let's say, tilde for the home, and then slash dir2 slash file1.txt. Okay, and then we'll switch directories. Let's say cd ... and then cd dir2, cd dir2 and ls, and there's the file1. Okay, so we can do that as well. Now if you want to delete a file or remove a file, you can use the rm command. Okay, so let's say we want to delete file1, we can say rm file1.txt, and now if we look, now it's gone. Alright, now if you want to remove a directory, let's go out to our home, and let's say we want to remove directory 2, we can do rm dir dir2. Okay, so now if we do ls, directory 2 is now gone. Now I'm going to put it back. We're going to make directory dir2, and then I'm going to go into it, and I'm going to create a file. So touch file1.txt, and I'm going to go back out to my root, and I'm going to try to delete dir2. And now you see it says failed to remove dir2, directory is not empty. So this command isn't going to work if the directory is empty. If it has files in it and you want to delete it, you want to use rm, but if you just do rm dir2, it'll say can't remove it. So you need to add the -R option, which is for recursive. So you want to do rm-r and then dir2. And now if we do an ls, dir2 is gone, as well as all the files that are in it. So let's clear that out, and then the next command I want to look at is which. So what which does is it'll search for a file or a folder's location and give you that location. So let's say we want to look for the MongoD application, which is the MongoDB server. We could say which MongoD, and that'll show you exactly where it's in. It's in the USR bin MongoD. Okay, so that can come in pretty handy. So what else? Let's use the history command, and history will basically show you your last what is it, 500 or so, 400. Well, I think it's your last 500 commands. Okay, so that can be handy. See what you've been doing, or to see what someone else has been doing. Let's see what else. So we've went over pretty much all the basics of, you know, moving files and folders around and deleting them and renaming them. So those are the most important. Those are the things that you absolutely need to know. Now some things you can't run as your user. You have to run it as the root user, and you never want to be really, you know, messing around with stuff logged in as the root user. So for that, you could use sudo. So let's try to run, for instance, apt-get update, which I'll go over in a minute. It's not going to let us. Basically, it says that we don't have the permission to. So if we do sudo apt-get update, it's going to ask for our password, and then it'll run it. Okay. and that's just updating our packages, and I'll get to that in a second. So you want to use sudo to run as root. Let's clear this out. Now let's look at some system commands. So these aren't, you don't need these to be able to navigate or anything, but they're good to know. So the first one is ipconfig, and this is just like ipconfig on Windows. Basically, it's going to give you all your network information, your Ethernet cards, your IP address, your local IP address, your loopback, things like that. Pretty much identical to ipconfig in Windows if you've ever used that. For wireless, you can do iwconfig, and that's going to show you, I don't have any wireless on this machine, but if you did, it would show you that stuff. Okay, now if you want to ping another machine or either over the internet or on your local network, you could say ping, for instance, let's say google.com, to see if that's online. You can see we're getting a response back from our request. Okay, and it's just going to keep going like this, but if you want to stop it, you can do a Control-C. Okay, so if we try to ping something that's most likely not a domain, you'll see we get unknown host. Okay, so that's how you can tell if you can actually reach a certain machine or not. Okay, so let's look at some other system commands. Let's see, we have uname. Let's do uname-a. That's going to just basically give us a summary of our system, the operating system, the version, things like that. Okay, we also have, let's do BLD, BLKID. And what that does is it basically shows us our hard drive. So I have my regular hard drive and then what's called a swap. Okay, so when Linux partitions your drive, it puts a little bit aside for a swap file here. Let's see what else. If we do top, that's another command. That's basically going to show us our processes and how much memory and CPU they're taking up, things like that. Kind of like the task manager in Windows. Even though there is a system monitor right here that you can use in Linux as well, and that'll show you resources, stuff like that, the running processes. Okay, and to get out of this, you just want to hit Q. Let's see, what else? What else did I want to do? DF is another command that'll show us our available and unavailable disk space. We have ls USB, which will show devices like USB hubs, things like that. For PCI stuff, you can use ls PCI, and that'll show you all that crap. A lot of which I don't even understand, but it's available to you. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it. Oh, package managers. Package managers are a big part of most Linux distributions. Different distributions use different managers. Debian Ubuntu uses apt-get. So we can say sudo apt-get and then install, and then we can install any package that's available. So let's say we want to install FileZilla, which is an FTP client. Okay, so as long as it's available, it'll go ahead and install that for us on our system. All right, and now if we go to up here and we search for FileZilla, there it is. Okay, and we can move it over here if we want, and it's as easy as that. Which is much easier than in Windows having to go to the site, download it, go through the installer. This is one of the best reasons to use Linux. Now, if we want to get rid of it, we could simply do sudo apt-get remove FileZilla, and that we'll say yes, and that will remove it. You can see it just disappeared. Okay. Now, if you want to update or see if there's available updates for packages on your system, you can do sudo apt-get update, and it'll run through and check everything, and if it finds something, it'll let you know. So I think that's pretty much it, guys. I don't want to get too deep into anything here. This is meant to be just for a beginner guide. Oh, we also have the shutdown command. We could say sudo shutdown, And if you wanted to restart, you could do a -R, but I'm going to halt, shut the whole thing down. So I'm going to do -H. And then you could also set a time. If you wanted to do like 10 minutes, you could do that, but I'm just going to do now. Okay, and it's going to go ahead and shut down. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and if you did and you're not subscribed, please do so if you feel like it. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't, you can leave a dislike. And that's it. Thanks for watching.